child has drawn a world of her own. See, there are mountains, there is sun and the skies, there are trees, flowers, some houses and roads. Looks like the backside of Mudanali ashram. The hills and the roads and the mount and the sun and the trees, coconut trees. This is what a child dreams of, a world like this. There is no war here, there is no strife, there is no selfishness, greed, there is no pollution, both inside outside. This is the world that every child deserves, isn't it? If that's all we can dream of. So when I saw this, I thought of it. How beautiful. A few days back, we were celebrating Rabindranath Tagore's birth anniversary. He gave a vision to the world, to at least our country, where the mind is without fear, he said. Where the mind is without fear, where the head is held high, where the knowledge is free, where the world has not been broken down into narrowness, narrow domestic walls. It's not been broken down into fragments because of narrow domestic walls. Selfishness is not there in the world that he imagines. Where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert sand of dead habit. People are living by mindfulness, they are not living by dead habits. How Vedantic is that? I am just trying to compare with all the Vedantic truth. Where the tireless striving stretches its arms towards perfection. Always perfection, karmasu kaushalam. So everything we want to do it correct, we don't want to do it perfect. Into that heaven of freedom, let my country awake, O Father. He prays to the divine. That kind of a heaven our country should be, where people are without fear. Tatra ko moha kashoka ekatvam anupashyata. Without fear. Abhihi, 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 our scriptures declare. Na bibheti, kutaschaneti. Again scriptures, Upanishads. He has no fear. Fearless is. Swachanda charina. Fearlessly roams around. Where the mind is without fear. That is the world that these great ones dreamt of. That is what this child also dreams. May not be able to speak in so many words. May not be able to quote from scriptures or from poetry. But the child's dream is that, a world without fear. Head is held high. What high? Not out of arrogance. High thinking. Simple living, high thinking. My buddhi, sattva buddhi is ruling the world. That is high head. That our pure buddhi, pure intellect shines there. That is the world that he dreams of. But the knowledge is free. All the knowledge of our Vedanta is free. Nobody has a patent, nobody has a right. People have written commentaries on what has already been written, and then they have published them and got an ISBN number, and now they have put it on Flipkart, Amazon, and selling it for whatever price. But the original knowledge is free. Nobody needs to be buying knowledge in our country, even if it's Brahma Vidya. Deservedness is another question. If one craves for it, yearns for it, pines for it, and deserves it, must get it. Deservedness is not financial deservedness. It's only Shraddha. It's free. Knowledge is free. But the world has not been broken down into fragments. Vasudhaiva kutumbakam. Yat kinchat jagat sarvam. Tishrate, shuyate picha. Antarbahishcha tat sarvam vyapya narayana stitaha. Outside, inside, everywhere, whatever we see, whatever we hear, everything is that same divine. No breaking down into fragments of I and mine. This is me, this is my body, this is my name, this is my form, this is my family, these are my people, this is my property, these are my lawns, get off my lawns. Ishavasya sarvam. All is divine. Sarvam kalvidam Brahma. All are divine. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. See the idea of Vedanta there. The clear stream of reason. Tattvavid understands the clarity is there. There is no confusion anymore. No ajnana. Pragyana is ruling the world. Clear stream of reason. Has not lost its way by interpretation, misinterpretation and misunderstanding. The knowledge is clear as always it was. Pure, shining, and has not lost its way. Into what? Into desert sands of dead habit. Dead habit means I am this body, I am this mind, I am this doer, I am born to such person, this is what I am, this is all that I am. Dead habit. From birth we have been told, we have been listening, we have been believing it, but we never asked the question, who am I? Is it all that I am or there is more to it? The clear stream of reason. What is the reason? If God is Satyam Jnanam Anantam, God is Satchit Ananda, God is Asti Bhati Priyam, how can this body be that? Because it changes with time, it cannot be Satyam, it cannot be Asti. How can it be true? How can my mind be true? It thinks one thing at one time, another thing another time. How can that be true? So there is something more than both body and mind which is true. Clear stream of reason. No force, no dead habits. And all the time, what is the striving? Towards perfection. Towards perfection, he says. What is perfection? Brahman is perfection. When you become Brahman, you are perfect. There is nothing more to add, nothing more to remove. Purnamada, Purnamidam, Purnat, Purnamudachyate. Purnasya Purnamadaya, Purnameva Vashishyate. It's perfect. You cannot remove anything for perfect, you cannot add to perfect. You can't make it half perfect, you can't make it 1/4 perfect. Perfect is perfect. Every piece of perfect is perfect. And perfect as a whole is perfect. Tireless striving stretches its arm towards perfection. How beautiful. O Father, O my divine Father, O Brahman, O divine being, let my country awake, Jagrata, not sleep through the freedom. Let me awake to what? Into heaven of freedom. What is freedom? Swachanda Charina. You are free. From what? From your own selves you are free. Swatantra. You are only your own ruler. You are your own master. Swatantra. You are not driven by minds and senses and temptations and sense objects and desires. You are driven by pure reason. This takes me to God. It is Shreyo or Preyo? Is it Shreyo? Let's do it. Preyo, avoid. Clear reason. Not habit. Keep doing the same thing because we like doing it. To that heaven of freedom, my Father, let my country awake. Let whole of this country, not just one Mudanalli, not just one Chikbalapur, not just Karnataka, let the whole of the country awaken into that freedom, true freedom. This is not freedom. As you feel like doing, you do. That is not freedom. Being able to control the mind, senses, and then do what is right is freedom. Young people take freedom as, don't tell us what to do, we will do as we please. That is freedom. But that is not freedom. They are slaves. Because they appear to be free, but they are actually slaves. For they are bound by their desires, bound by the temptations, bound by their senses, bound by their mind's vagaries. And they just follow that. They are not really having any freedom. They are actually bound. They are Baddha Jivis, not Buddha Jivis. Freedom is in Buddha. So I saw this painting, this drawing, and immediately my mind went to this poem of Sri Rabindranath Tagore. He may not be a great Vedantin, but his thoughts are so Vedantic. There is something in the soil of Bengal. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, Vivekananda, the whole mission from there. And even a poet saint, he's like, who speaks this. Well, something is amazing about the soil of India, not just Bengal. Soil of India itself. So beautiful this soil of India is, which brings forth such beautiful souls. Every other yuga, every other century, there is somebody who rises to redeem the mankind of its slavery. Not British slavery, not Mughal slavery. Its own slavery. And frees them of their own selves. Makes them free. Freedom. How many of us in this world, in this country, even this town understand what the real freedom is? So unfortunate. We all stand up, gather up under the national flag on the Independence Day. With what little understanding. In fact, no understanding of what the true freedom is, what is the vision of that true freedom that our seers and sages have thought of. Mukti, they call it, freedom. From what? From all the bandhanas. That is the freedom that country thought of. And how unfortunate that today, as the times are, people don't even have understanding of what that really is. It has been reduced to a very poorly interpreted, poorly understood, poorly proclaimed idea of freedom. I have the money, I have the freedom. I have power, I have freedom. The country is independent, so we have freedom. My parents should not say anything, that's why I have freedom. I do as I please. That is not freedom. That is the idea of our country. Even a child understands, cannot express it in so many words, cannot quote from Vedanta, cannot write a poem like Tagore. But the child also understands that is the world that the child wants. The child did not put warships. The child did not put people fighting. It's a beautiful nature, a few tiny homes, abodes of peace, a few trees. That's all a child's imagination of world is. That's why it's called children of immortality. You are Amrutasya Putra. You are not Mruta Putras. You are not born to the people who die. You are not born to Mrityu. You are born to Amrutatva. This is Amrutatva. The imagination of this child is Amrutatva. That is the beauty of human soul. It always knows what it wants. Unfortunately, it is taught not to want it. It is taught not to ask. It is convinced not to demand that which it deserves. That is why I am so Mother Lasa's fan, because she sung to her children, Shuddhosi Buddhosi Niranjanosi Samsara Maya Parivarjitosi Samsara Swapnam Tyaja Moha Nidra Na Janma Mrityuhu Tatsat Sarupe. Get up, my dear child, from this dream, Moha Nidra, from this dream of delusion, from the sleep of delusions, ignorance. Get up. Wake up. You have no birth, you have no death. Don't cry over things which don't exist. You are the Shuddha, Buddha, Niranjana. You are truly Tatsat Swarupa. That thou art. That is the ideal of our Indian thought. And so many, even I read the other days, Mahatma Gandhi, somebody asked, who are you? And he replied, not as Shankaracharya, neti, neti, neti. Simple reply. Said, some people think I'm a politician, some people think I'm a social worker, but I am a simple man in search of God. That's Mahatma Gandhi, a man who moved the conscience of this nation, which was sleeping for over 400-500 years. Single-handedly, he shook the conscience of the entire nation, from the illiterate to the elite, from the rich to the poorest, from the meek to the powerful, from Indian to foreign. Everybody he shook their conscience. Why? Because he simply said, I am a man in search of God. That is his definition of himself. Not a political leader, not a social servant, not a reformer, not a national whatever hero, not the father of the nation. I am a simple man in search of God. India has been searching for God since time immemorial. That is what India has been doing. It didn't search for oil wells, it did not search for gold mines, it did not search for nuclear weapons, uranium. It only searched for God. That is the soul of India. And that is reflected even in a small child's vision of what the surroundings should be like. Because the child is growing in an environment like this, is being fostered by people who believe in God. The same child, it was in Bangalore or something, caught up in one pigeonhole of an apartment somewhere on the 20th floor, looking through the window. Because it's growing there. It has no other way. It only learns what it sees. They say when the child is born up to 40 days, it remembers its past. Up to 40. That's why it smiles sometimes. It cries on its own without any reason. Mother is like confused. What has happened to this child? Suddenly it smiles in its sleep. And suddenly it starts crying for no reason. Mother will think it's hungry, it is try to feed, it doesn't want to feed. Because it remembers 40 days, they said, it remembers the past of all that it has gone through. So it remembers the good and smiles, it remembers the bad and cries. But after 40, 41 days, as the mind which gets start overpowering the pure buddhi, and the mother's sound it can recognize, the father's words, the people around, oh how sweet, how beautiful, you are this, you are that, and everybody gives a name and form, and the child becomes Baddha Jivi, from Buddha Jivi. And that is the fate, poor child's fate in the hands of an Ajnani parent. Look at the poor child's fate. What karma that it is born in a family, the mother knows nothing about spirit, father knows nothing about jnana. That is the misfortune of that child. But if the parents are educated, they are jnanis, obviously jnana will go to the children too. Then this vision where the mind is without fear, head is held high, knowledge is free. All these can be fulfilled. It's not a political vision that Rabindranath Tagore gave. It's not even a national social vision. It's a spiritual vision. Because all that he demands from the Father to happen is not possible without spiritual realization. It's only possible when every single being in this country at least is spiritually realized. Only then they can be free. They can be fearless. Their knowledge is free. They're striving for perfection. They're not living by dead habit, forced habits. They're living by clear reason. All this is possible only when every being has realized himself or herself spiritually. Ultimate potential of the human soul is spirituality. Once you have realized that potential, this all vision is possible. All these drawings will find fulfillment. A peaceful world, everybody is satisfied. Tiny homes, no big bungalows and no big apartments, just tiny homes. Contentment, satisfaction with what we have. Nature around, purity, no pollution of thought, word and deed, nor of the environment, no exploitation. Everything is so beautiful. That is the world that every single child born on earth dreams of. But unfortunately is cursed to live in a world that is totally different from the vision of that child. And to make the world what it should be for every single soul that comes to the earth, it's in whose hands? Those who are right now on earth. And the only way it is possible is if we all rise and realize collectively, not in pockets. That's when the whole scenario will change. Every child will realize his or her true potential, the spiritual soul, that which it is. And how it is? Asti, bhati, priyam. Asti, it is, bhati, it can be known, priyam. And how is it? Priyam. It's beautiful, it's sweet, it's lovable, adorable. Priyam. But the moment Nama Rupa comes, it covers up all these Asti Bhati Priyam. Apriyam. Nasti, people think it doesn't exist, that soul and all doesn't exist. It's only body and mind and death and done. Bhati, it can be known, when what it doesn't exist, how can we be knowing that? Forget it, won't even try that. So people are cursed to live in the illusions of Nama and Rupa and then struggle all life without any joy, without any clarity, and live with the force of dead habits. Cursed life. So that is the idea of spirituality. It's not just a vision for one being, it's a vision for the entire universe. That is the vision of Vedanta. It's not a vision of a country, it's not a vision of a state, it's not a vision of a family or an individual, it's a universal vision. Only upon its realization can world truly find that peace, that harmony, that solidarity, that brotherhood, whatever we talk of. All those nice things that UN puts out in its papers as a vision of the world. All that is possible. Those sustainable development goals there, the Vision 2020, it's already here. I don't know how much we have achieved. 2020 looks like this, by 2022, we don't know. Sustainable Development Goals, SDG. No hunger, no poverty, equal rights for everyone. sustainable environment, no pollution, water for everyone, education for all, health care for everyone, shelter for all, energy for all, kind of vision they have put up. Do you think all that is possible without the spiritual realization? Not possible. Not possible. 6 people of the world governs 50% of world's wealth, where the rest of the world is doomed to fend for themselves. No opportunity, no education, no water, no health, no shelter, no social security, no freedom whatsoever. And yet people, those 6 who rule the world, they are considered the heroes. They are adored, admired, given prizes and praises, and all the media attention goes there. What kind of world are we living in? Is this child's dream ever will get fulfilled if we continue to live the way we are living? That's where Vedanta can make a difference. It can shake up the sleeping souls within all the beings. Luckily, the good part is that there is a soul, not like he prayed the other day. God, save my soul if I have a soul. Oh God, if there is a God, save my soul if there is a soul. He need not worry. There is a God and there is a soul. For guarantee, Vedanta guarantees that. There is a God and there is a soul, and your soul is the God. So no two, only one. Vedanta guarantees that. It can save everybody's soul. There is the power of Vedanta. But how will people know that it exists? It is for real. It's not an imaginary thing. When all of you lived a life of that nature, and people look up to you saying that, how come you are so free? You are so peaceful, you are ever calm. And what do you do when you achieve that? Viveka Chudamani, Shanto Mahanto Nivasanti Santo Vasantavat Lokahitam Charantaha. What happens to you? You become Shanto, supremely peaceful, nothing disturb you. Mahanto, glorious ones, the great ones. Nivasanti Santo, you are Santa. How? Within yourself, in the society you live, but you are a Santa. Santa means pure-hearted, sage-hearted person. And what does he do? Vasantavat, like this Vasanta Ritu, when it comes, it brings so much of beauty to the nature. Flowers bloom, birds sing, there is greenery everywhere. So much beauty it brings after a cold winter. Vasanta comes. Vasantavat, they come like Vasanta to the world. Who? Shanto, Mahanto, Nivasanti Santo. Those Santa, those Mahan, those Shanta, they live in the world with Nivasanti, they roam around in the world. How? Vasantavat, like the beautiful spring season. They bring that spring to everyone's lives. Charanta. And for their sake they move around. Like the Vasanta moves around to bring flowers and beauty, like that these beings move around out of compassion. They have already, Tirna, they have already redeemed themselves. But now what they do? Tarayanti. They help others also cross over. That is their role. So if we don't have people of that nature, there is no hope for this world. That's possible only if at least few people rise and decide that this is my life's goal and mission. Everything else can wait. Everything will happen. Everything else will happen on its own. But if somebody asks me, what is my life's goal? How am I going to be of any service to this humanity? Realize yourself and then help others realize themselves. That is the perfect and the only solution. I've been so convinced about it. Nanya pantha vidyate ayanaya. No other solution to this world. No solution for problems of sustainable development goals. It's all imagination that it can happen. It will never happen. It has never happened so far. In thousands of years, it has not happened that everybody had food, everybody had a shelter, everybody had energy, water, everybody had health and education. When the population was not even a small fraction of what it is today, it has never happened. Yet people were happy. How people were happy is the question. So it's a sustainable development goal should be about how to keep everybody happy in the world, whatever they have, how much ever they have. How will they learn to be happy? By giving money, can you make them happy? Maybe for a few days. Later they'll look this way, that way, or they have more money than us, they'll become unhappy. There's no way you can keep them happy. Yes, basics have to be met. But when the whole world becomes Vedantic, they realize themselves there is no selfishness. You think 6 people will hoard the wealth of half the world's wealth? You think that would be possible? It's not possible. They'll always think, what will I do with this? Let us share with those who don't have, who cannot have. So much beauty it will bring to the world. Priyam. If only this Nama-Rupa business we can get rid of. There's so much of beauty, so much of love, compassion, kindness. That will come to the world only if we get rid of this illusion of Nama-Rupa. Tada vidvan Nama-Rupa vimuktaha parat param paramupaiti divyam. The man, Vidwan, will give up these illusions of Nama and Rupa. And what will Parat Param? He will reach Parat Param, Paramupaiti, he will reach the Parama, Divyam, the divine self. That is the kind of people required in the world today. So the effort of this, what you are putting, 30 days, 25 days, whatever you have, take it more seriously, that it's not just for your own Uddhara. That will happen. Without that, other Uddhara will not happen. You should have your... But along with that, what it can do for the world. One Jnani can transform a whole society. Whoever it might be. So take it seriously more than anything else. Take it quite seriously. Jesus was curing people of their diseases and troubles. What power is that, Swami? No one could heal such things were healed by Jesus. Realizing Brahman, Swami, can we really help people like this? They want to become healers. And with the idea of showing of some power of healing to help people. If it happens, it happens, but that is not the goal for which you should be working. Between his 16th year, Jesus left Jerusalem at 16th year. Jesus appears a 30-year-old man or so and goes to John the Baptist and gets baptized and becomes a disciple of John. And his teachings were same as Vedanta. There is one God, Lord. He also said Ekam. There is only one, there are no two, he said very clearly. And he told his people, so what you should do, he is an all, love thy neighbor, love thy Lord with all thy heart, with all thy might, with all thy soul, love your neighbor as yourself. Same things he told, in his way, because he modified it to suit the context and the situation. He said, when somebody was suffering, his compassion could not wait. He could feel the pain of the others because he loved them so much. That love did whatever, he didn't do anything. The love did everything. Because he had such pure love for people. When he couldn't bear seeing them suffer, that love did whatever it is, like all the sages do. It's not only about Jesus. There are plenty of saints and sages whose compassion, whose love is so. That is what he's saying. About a guru it is said, Ahetuka daya sindhu. Without any reason, he has compassion for you. If you suffer, he has compassion. So, that is natural to the people who have developed spiritual knowledge. But that cannot be, because there are people, for the sake of these siddhis, they practice some austerities. Much of this Raja Yoga is there. So many of them get stuck in that floor. They don't go higher. You go to Patanjali Yoga Sutras, he explains, by doing certain kind of meditation, focusing your mind on certain aspects of your existence will give you certain powers. Focusing here will open up the third eye, which will help you to see past, present and future. Focusing of this here will help you enter people something and walk on water and God knows what all. So this morning only I was telling them, some monk quote is there, it says, people say walking on water is a miracle. To me, walking on earth peacefully is a miracle. If you can walk on this earth peacefully, without any fear, head is held high, knowledge is free, that's a miracle at these present times. But these Raja Yogis, people, what they do, they get into this nonsense. They will come by and by, but if you get distracted and settle down there, you will never reach for the highest. You have settled, you have compromised for something much lower. If it comes by and by, let it come. If it doesn't come, let it not come. Anyway, that was not the goal. How to help people, make them realize that is how you can help people. They will know. All this is illusion. Their sorrows are not real sorrows. Their joys are also not real joys. That dispassion, that detachment will come. Nobody will suffer. They will not suffer their sorrows. They will not suffer their happiness. because both are sufferings at the end. That is how you can heal people. That is how you can take them where it is. Of course, there are some physical problems. See, what is, you think hospital is not a miracle? You think the schools are not a miracle? Annapurna is not a miracle? I simply say, there are children suffering, let us build a hospital. From where people come? They have not been materialized from thin air. One person, I can cure one person, let us say, like Jesus. Okay, great. You saw him, you blessed, it's cured. That hospital cures 10 people a day. 3 hospitals cures 30 people a day. Which is more powerful? Compassion is more powerful or Siddhis are more powerful? Compassion is more powerful. With Siddhi, you have to sit face to face and do something. With compassion, I am sitting here, healing is happening everywhere. Just I told workers are there, migrant workers don't have food, there are people who are not having jobs, can Annapurna go and distribute something? I just told Annapurna, so many devotees called up. We heard Swami is giving something, can I offer something for that project? Please offer, so I didn't tell anything. See, compassion does it. It does everything. So powerful, love and compassion. So the yogi, the jnani will be a person who is full of love and compassion. Ahetuka daya sindhu. Vasantavat loka hita charanti. He'll bring beauty, he'll bring harmony, he'll bring bliss to the world like the spring season comes and brings that happiness, beauty and bliss to everyone. His presence will bring that. So that is a bigger healing. And don't get into these modern, online healers, gurus, psychic healing, past life reading, and all kinds of things. The hypnotherapists, all that is at mind level only. And you know very well, at the mind level it is temporary. It will grow back. At the soul level, when you realize oneness with Brahman, only everything disappears. All the karma bijas get roasted in the fire of jnana and they become impotent. They will not grow anymore. Even if they are there, they don't affect you. That is what you should aim at. Why these temporary solutions, band-aids? Why these painkillers? Go for the permanent solution, which is to realize the oneness with the self. With that, if powers come, let it come. It doesn't come, let it not come. Again, as I was reading Ramana, somebody said, Ramana, you came in my dream and you gave me darshan and you solved my problem and you gave me this. Ramana doesn't know what is he talking. He shows like this. He does. I don't do anything. He does. See the clarity. Otherwise, what will happen? I do. Tomorrow one board will be there outside your house. A website will come up. App also will come up. Online counseling will start. Per minute charges will start. Isn't it? And where is spirituality in this whole thing? This is all nonsense. Yes, if somebody is you have some skills, you can counsel, do that, no problem. But keep that in mind that you have not realized yourself, so you have not reached there yet. Don't entertain yourself too long here. Compassion, that is why I say you work in the office, you work as staff, volunteers, teachers, students, everything is fine. At the end of it, Yama is not going to ask you all this. What good have you done? I worked in the Satya Sai college, I worked as a volunteer, as seva. That is the good God has done to you by giving you an opportunity to lead a good life. What good have you done? I was healing, I was doing past life regression, I was reading people's mind and telling them fairy tales. You think that is not, you didn't bad to them. You confused them. What good have you done? I realized myself, thereby I helped so many people realize myself. That is a good that has been done. That is the good you have done. Come, I will note down saying, you are free. I am not going to torture you. You are free to go Satchanda. Wherever you want, you go. You want to go Brahmalaka, your choice. You want to go back to earth and help more people, your choice. You want to merge in Brahman, your choice. I have no say over that. Look at the beauty of that end. Vedanta Vijnana Sunishchitartha, once you confirmly know, Sunishchitaha, you for sure you know Vedanta Vijnana. You have understood the highest Vedanta. How? Sunishchitartha. You are completely convinced about it. What happens? Sannyasa Yoga. You become a sannyasi. Not from the physical point of view. In the mind, mano sannyasa, guna sannyasa comes to you. Detachment from everything. Yataya Shuddha Sattvaha. You're ever putting that effort and you're always Shuddha Sattva. You become pure inside. Te Brahma Loke. They'll go where? Not to Yamaloke. They go to Brahma Loke, to Paranta Kale. Paranta, not Antakale. Paranta means at the end of all the cycles of life and death, all the births and deaths, it has come to an end for such a person. Paramrutat parimuchyanti sarve. He is freed from all bondages. Paramrutat. He becomes the ultimate immortal self. How? By Vedanta Vijnana Sunichitartha. By confirmed. He is convinced about this knowledge of Vedanta, Vijnana. He knows that. How can you be convinced if you don't know, if you not experience that? You have to experience that. After experiencing that, sannyasa yoga, he becomes detached. Shuddha sattva, he becomes pure. And what happens? All his cycles of life and death end. Parantakale comes and he goes to Brahmaloke. Parimuchyanti sarve. After having cut off himself from all the bondages. Mundaka Upanishad says that. Sannyasa Suktam says that. See, so beautiful this Vedanta. Any number of times I repeat it, I am not satisfied that I have done enough justice to its glory. Any number of hours I speak about it, I am not done. It's so beautiful, it's so amazing. So you have to pay attention to that. Healing and all will keep happening. You focus whether you are realizing that self. If you realize, then all these things will work. Somebody asked me for this dream thing, that why in dream we see things which we don't want to see, do things that we don't want to do, and then suffer in a way that we don't want to suffer. So why in the dream it happens? As I said, these are all deeply embedded vasanas are there. So when physically you cannot execute them or implement them or you cannot realize them, your mind, in dream it tries to realize them. That's why the Prashnopanishad said, what happens in dream? Deva, the mind, swapne, mahimanam anubhavati. Great powers it realizes in the dream. It powers you want to, the wife is thinking, this husband I must give one tight slap tomorrow. But she can't do in physical world. So in dream she is slapping left, right, center. Morning she gets up peacefully. You don't like your boss. You want to go and rant out everything that is there, all the bitterness in your heart. Go and speak in front, he will kick you out of the job. So what do? In the dream you realize suddenly boss is standing and you are giving him left, right, center. You wake up so relieved. Mind has achieved. Physically you couldn't do it. So that is the power of mind. Mahimanam anubhavati. What kind of mahima it is? Shunvan, ashunvan. What you heard, what you have not heard also it hears. Look at this. You have heard something, it repeats to you in the dream is one thing. What you have never heard, that also it makes you hear. Where is that coming from? Which you never heard, how can it make you hear? It's coming from previous births. Because mind has been there ever since Jivatma came into existence. The moment we split from Paramatma, he gave us a troublesome mind. Take this. And since then the mind has been with us. It means so many yonis we have changed, so many births we have crossed, so many things have happened. Bodies have changed, mind has stayed with us. And every time it collects more and more and more and more with it. And becomes the baggage, like a snowball effect. Starts with a small stone and becomes a huge ball. Over a period it has collected so many vasanas, samskaras, ashas, ichhas, and it has become so big and so powerful. So you may not remember something, it may look totally out of context. But in dreams you will see things, experience things, do things, see people, see places. All these are coming from your past. Because those are embedded, those vasanas are there. The only time this mind disappears is, it says, when you go to deep sleep stage. What happens there? Tejasa abhibhuto bhavati. Not mahimanam anubhavati. Tejasa abhibhuto. Tejasa means the splendor of the Atman. The brightness of the Atman it sees and it loses itself. That's why in deep sleep there are no dreams, no these unwanted thoughts, no unwanted things. Nothing happens. Absolutely so. Neither there is pleasure, nor there is pain. Nor there is sukha, nor is dukkha. The dvandva disappears. Dvaita disappears. Manoha amani bhavati, they say. Amani means no mind. Mind becomes no mind. When it reaches Brahman. When it reaches in deep sleep, it reaches, that's what he said. But the moment we wake up, we are cursed to deal with this mind again. Which is there, very, very ancient it is. Therefore, all these dreams that you experience are from your either Purvajana Vasanas or some hidden desires in your head, mind which have not been fulfilled. It fulfills itself in the dream state. The only way to get rid of this is the mind should completely merge in the Brahman. That happens in deep sleep stage as a natural phenomena, and the explanation to this is like the birds go back to their nests in the evening. Vayamsi vaso vriksham sampratishthante. How the birds go back to their nests at the end of the day, like that his mind goes back to Brahman in deep sleep. But wakes up, again birds are chattering and chirping and making sound. They're no more peaceful. Night, no bird chirps. Morning, look at the noise. Same thing mind does. It wakes up and then it starts doing its old tricks again. So how to get rid of it? You purify it, get rid of all the desires and vasanas which you are working on, I'm sure. And then what you do, keep realizing, push it closer to Brahman. Every time think of Brahman, aham brahmasmi, aham brahmasmi. The mind is getting trained now. So far what mind was trained to be? Aham, so and so. That is what mind was trained. Now what you are doing to mind, you are training it to think that it is Brahman, not other than Brahman. So what happens? If somebody asks me, this is a buddhi which is doing this or mind it is doing that? See, mind is a combination of buddhi, ahankara, chitta and manas. Manas itself is like a pot has a water, and also a pot has several items. And the pot itself is there, an item. Like the mind contains chitta, some kind of a conscious thing, which is a collection of all your past memories, all your ideas, all that you have ever experienced. Is like a big, trillion, not TB, it's like T to the power infinity B hard disk. Has everything nicely segregated and kept. That is chitta, storage. Then this ahankara is there, which is the identity with this body and through this mind. I am so and so, my name is such and such, I am the son or daughter of so and so, I am a student, teacher, staff, whatever, all identifications that it has with this body, it is a ahankara. Then buddhi. Buddhi has no collection of any thoughts. It's like an algorithm, flow chart. Yes, no, do it, don't do it. That's all it says. It's a simple, free standing a process of decision making. That's all it is. Flow charts, algorithms. Flow charts, how it makes decisions. Takes the paths according. That same thing, preyo, shreyo. The buddhi keeps discriminating. How it consults chitta. Last time I did this, what happened, chitta? What happened? Oh, last time you said this, you were brutally beaten up by your teacher. Last time you lied like this. Oh, is it so? No. Let me not do it this time. So chitta supplies the information to the buddhi to make a decision. Like a minister, a council gives advice to the prime minister. So this chitta has collection of all those things. Buddhi is able to take information from chitta and decide, this manas is asking me to do this. Should I do or should I not? Should I allow this manas to do this or not? Chitta says, last time this manas did this, it was a disaster. Now you decide, I am only supplying information, I am not saying more than that. Then buddhi goes and tells manas, hey manas, you don't remember, but last time when you did this, you got into a big trouble. Don't do it this time. Manas, no, I want to do it still. Then go to hell. Then the manas goes and does what it wants to do and goes precisely to hell. Yama waits for him there. So that is the idea. So what buddhi does, buddhi is only a power of decision making. Based on your past experiences, it consults the chitta, gets the information, processes it, and decides against the background of it. It advises the mind, should you do or should not. Mind decides finally what to do. Because mind is controlling buddhi. Actually, buddhi should control mind. That is why I said buddhi is the charioteer, mind is the reins, and horses are the senses. So buddhi should control the mind, but unfortunately we have done the ulta. Buddhi becomes a slave to the mind and then we get into all trouble. So when pure thoughts come in you, decision making happens, buddhi is active. But a bad buddhi will give you bad suggestions. A pure buddhi will give you good suggestions. So that buddhi which has spent too much time with a bad mind for too long becomes bad buddhi. It gives you bad advice. So you should not be. So to purify this buddhi, you have to be in the good company of people. So buddhi gets purified, sattva buddhi, it will take care of that mind that it doesn't deviate from the path. So that is the idea of what happens. So why I started this, because in the dreams and all that stuff, all this mind, buddhi, chitta, ahankara, everything disappears into Brahman. No existence remains in the deep sleep. But in the samadhi, in the state of communion with the divine, with the Brahman, you are active, your buddhi is active. Your buddhi is active, it knows that I am now Brahman, I am experiencing this Brahman at this point in time. This peace, this calmness, this awareness is coming from Brahman. And mind sleeps. It doesn't ask any more questions to this buddhi. It doesn't trouble the buddhi, I want this, I don't want that. Chitta has no use, buddhi doesn't want to consult the chitta. Ahankara has no use, because buddhi has taken care that it is identifying itself with a new identity of Brahman. So ahankara is only buddhi, consciousness. That conscious awareness is buddhi. But what happens? That is at the samadhi level. When you are aware, that is not nirvikalpa, savikalpa samadhi, which is what I am teaching you. I don't want to tell these words, you will get scared. But what I am teaching you is basically savikalpa samadhi. How with your own decision, with your own effort, you can attain that state. Not by fluke, as they say, not by chance. By perfect control on yourself, you should be able to do that. So that you are learning. So what happens? You sharpen your buddhi. Buddhi yoga is we are doing, telling buddhi to discriminate and tell the mind, quiet, don't trouble me more. And then buddhi should decide what we are telling, aham brahmasmi. So what buddhi is saying, I am not Brahman, I am not realized Brahman. Mind is saying, that's precisely why I tell you, don't do it into all these spiritual practices. These are all confusing me. Buddhi says, shut up, you don't know anything. My guru told that I am Brahman, that we are all Brahman actually. So the mind says, no, I don't believe in it. I never see Brahman, I never touched Brahman, I never tasted Brahman, that is all your problem. That is the nature of Brahman. Yato vacho nivarte tante aprapya manasa. My mind cannot catch Brahman, so you just keep quiet and sit. I know that Brahman is this because my Viveka tells me that yes, there is something like that. So I want to put effort. So what will Buddhi say? Oh mind, remember you are Brahman. Oh mind, remember you are Brahman. Mind says, no, I am so and so. I am Gauda, I am Reddy, I am Shetty. No, you are Brahman. No, I am Gauda. No, I am Brahman. The Buddhi will keep teaching the mind till the mind learns to repeat it. You all sing Mana Ek Bar Hari Bol. Who is telling Mana to sing Hari's name? Definitely Mana is not telling Mana. Buddhi is telling Mana. Hey Mana, sit down and remember Hari. Remember you are Brahman. So what exercise you are doing right now is actually still at the mind level only. Mind in the consolidated mind level. But who is acting right now? Buddhi. What is Buddhi saying to you every morning, every evening? You are Brahman, you are Brahman, you are Brahman. Everything else, everyone also is Brahman. He is teaching you that. See, Shankaracharya puts it so beautifully. What he says, Ardha shlokena pravakshami yaduktam grantha kotibhihi. In crores of granthas, what has been said, I will tell you in half a shloka, he says. What is? Brahma satyam jagan mithya jivo brahmaiva napara. This is what 100 crores of granthas have written this only. I will tell you in half a shloka. Brahma satyam jagan mithya jivo brahmaiva napara. Brahma is truth, Brahman is truth. This imagination of world as true is an imagination. That is why it's mithya. And being is none other than the divine himself. That is the essence of 100 crores of Shatakoti Bihi. 100 crore granthas. Essence is half of shloka. Brahma Satya. That is what I am telling you. Brahma, that is the truth, that is the truth. Jagan Mithya. Some people are getting confused. Somebody asked me, Swami, you are saying Sarvam Kalvidam Brahman, and then you also say Jagan Mithya. So what is the connection between the two? So I told them. So there are various, now I don't want to get into Vedantic, but there is Paribhashika, Paramarthika, Vyavaharika, different types of jnanas are there. Let us keep the Sanskrit aside. Simple logic. You look at it as a reflection in the mirror. Now you have an apple here and you have reflection of the apple in the mirror. Now where did this reflection come from? From the apple, the object. Without object, the reflection won't be there. But can you eat the reflection? You cannot. That's why it's mithya. Because you cannot eat it and experience it. But where did it come from? It is reflecting the Brahman alone. Therefore, it is Satyam also. In what way Satyam? That it is Brahman only. It's a reflection on Brahman. But we cannot eat the reflection. Therefore, we have to go back to the Brahma Satyam. So, Jagan Mithya is only to the extent of this reflection only, which cannot be eaten, cannot be enjoyed. However, this also is Brahman because this reflection is born out of the object. It's the object's reflection. So, it is a piece and part and parcel of that Brahman because it's the reflection of it to that extent. Your photo is you only, isn't it? Your reflection in the mirror is you. You don't call it somebody else. So that reflection came because you came. Likewise, because Brahman is there, therefore the reflection has come in the mirror. But can you eat the reflection apple? No. Therefore it is mithya. That much logic, if you understand, it's enough. So all the world that exists around you, your husband, wife, children, parents, staff, teachers, what are all these? They're all reflections of Brahman. So can you experience Ananda by them? No, they're all reflections. If you try to catch the reflection, like our dog is there. If he goes in front of the mirror, he'll try to catch himself in the mirror. Or a small child who doesn't know the reflection, concept of reflection. Put him inside, in front of the mirror, what it does? It tries to grab the reflection. Because ajnana. And what happens? Dukkha. Ajnana, I gave you the whole 7 steps, right? Let's revise. Ajnana, then avarana, then vikchepa, then paroksha jnana, then pratyaksha anubhava, then dukkha nivritti, then ananda prapti. So what is happening? The reflection, you are seeing the apple and you want to eat the apple very badly. And you are fighting with your mother, father, give me that apple, give me the apple. Father is telling, turn the other way, apple is on the table, not inside the mirror. No, I saw it in the mirror. I want the apple. Dukkha. Ajnana has led to dukkha. I can get joy out of this family and relationships and all this. Yes, you can get some pleasures of watching the apple. Eating the apple, ananda prapti, not possible. Pleasure of watching the apple is good. But the true joy of eating the apple doesn't exist there. That's why it's mithya. So my parents are not Brahman, they are Brahman, they are reflections of Brahman in your own mind. To you, when you become the center of the logic is you, then they are reflections of the Brahman. When they are the center of the logic, they are Brahman and you are the reflection. So for everybody, you have to apply this logic individually. When I think I am Brahman, everything else is reflection of that same Brahman. When they think they are Brahman, I am the reflection too for them. This logic you have to apply, and that's how you develop the distancing, social distancing. No, you distance yourself from yourself. I am Brahman, this is the body of reflection of the Brahman. This body looks like an enjoyable thing, pleasurable thing, good to see, good to talk, but you cannot actually, the real joy is not here. The real joy is in eating the apple which is behind me, because I am seeing the reflection. The apple is somewhere behind. But the beauty of Vedanta is that even though it declares it to be a reflection, the Dakshinamurti Stotram, again Shankaracharya. I don't know what we would have done if Shankaracharya was not there. Vishwam Darpanam Drishyamana Nagari Tulya Nijantargatam. Vishwam, the whole thing that you see. What is this? Darpanam Drishyamana. In the mirror, Drishyamana, seen what? Nagari, like the whole city is there in a small mirror. Go and stand in Chikbalapur square and put a mirror. Whole Chikbalapur is reflecting in that mirror. Sometimes these mirrors are there when you turn your car, they have put all these mirrors, these convex mirrors. The whole Anandam, whole hill, Nandi hill is reflecting in that. That's all is the world. But that is not, you want to go to Nandi hill, you can't get inside the mirror. You have to go back to the Nandi hill which is behind. So Vishwam, Darpanam Drishyamana Nagari Tulya. It's only equivalent to a city reflecting in a mirror. Where is the mirror? Nijantargatam. It's in you. Your mind is the reflection. Mana Darpana Kehlai. Mind is the mirror in which everything is reflecting. Mind gets absorbed in Brahman, no reflection, nothing left. What is left? In deep sleep stage, mind goes into Brahman. Where is the reflection? No reflection at all. Because the mirror only is not there. So reflection is not there. That is the idea of Vedanta. Know everything as Brahman, but also know that outside you it's all reflections. You can see it, you can look at it, but you cannot enjoy it. You cannot eat it. So that is the problem of this illusion, Maya. That which is not, it appears to be, it's there. We heard that 18th elephant. That is Maya. It makes all sense. Oh, why did this world is like that? Why people are happy and sad? Why people are sometimes like this, sometimes like that? Perfect logic, because of Maya. Because of Maya, all this is like that. Oh, that explains. That explains. That constant, we put in the equation, which balances the equation. It doesn't exist, but we put. Like that, this is that particular thing which balances the equation, makes us understand the nature of the world, but it by itself, it doesn't have any existence. So, Vishwam Darpanam Drishyamana. Next time you see each other, think that they're all reflections of Brahman, that's all. But if I really want to find joy or find the true Ananda in this relationship, I have to go back to the source, which is Brahman. As long as I see the Rupa and Nama, I am going to be sorrowful only. One day my son will listen to what I say, I am happy. The other say he disobeys, I am unhappy. You go through this sorrow and pleasure all throughout. The only way is you detach yourself, distance yourself and see everything as the reflection of Brahman. So it is true, Jagat Mithya, yes it is true. Sarvam Khalavidam Brahman, yes it is true. Both are true. But the perspective, the understanding, the context should be right. Both are true. Perspective should be right. That, as I said, how much ever I explained to you, unless you have experienced it, it is not going to make much sense to you. You are intellectually understanding, there is logic behind everything. You understand all that stuff. When you say, I can't see Brahman, I said that is how it's supposed to be. Very first mention of Brahman is that, na medayana bahuna shrutena. It cannot be understood by the intellect nor by listening about it. Yato vacho nivartate cannot be described in words. Aprapya manasa sa cannot be understood by mind. So straight away our Vedantis said, the moment you get a doubt that when I don't see something, how do I know it exists? Know that it exists because it cannot be seen. That is why it exists. That is the nature of Brahman, they said. Okay, I believe scriptures, somehow I have some Shraddha. I'll believe, let me go forward from here and try it out. Now you are trying it out. So there will be bouts of peace, serenity, which is that peace that passeth understanding, they say. That peace you will experience in these meditations, some fleeting moments of those peace and calmness, which you would not have experienced the other times. Somebody wrote a letter and didn't write the name, but some boy said that he was coming to Premadip, and as he was walking, he just thought about this whole concept of Brahma and Jagat. And suddenly a deep sense of peace, kind of overpowered him, and he felt like a free bird in the sky for a few moments, fleeting moments. And then he came back to the regular senses, and then he tried very hard to get back that same feeling. It didn't come again. It was like the window, the curtain parted little, you saw the face and closed again. But you fell in love. What a beautiful face. I was telling about the story of Alauddin Khilji and Padmavati. Padmavati's face he wanted to see desperately. She was so beautiful, it seems. And he said, if you don't show me her face, I will attack the kingdom. Then Padmavati, being Rajput lady, she said, I cannot show my face to anybody else other than husband. But at the same time, she was also the queen, and to protect the kingdom, she is the Mata for the kingdom. So she said, Alauddin is too powerful. If I show my face and that averts this disaster of a war, I don't mind. But I will not show my face direct. I will show it in the mirror, she says. So a big mirror is arranged. She is in her chambers. From her balcony, she comes out. Alauddin is down somewhere, and the face is reflected in the mirror. And Alauddin falls for her. He says that this lady I cannot miss. She is too very beautiful. I've conquered almost half of Sindh, Afghan, Delhi, down till south I am reaching now, or mid of India. I have not seen a lady more beautiful than her. So reflection itself, he went mad. Had he seen the real lady, then and there he would have killed people. A negative story, but a positive moral. What? If Brahman's reflection is so beautiful in every flower, in every leaf, in the mountains, in the rivers, the imagination of the child and its painting. This Brahman is reflecting everywhere. His reflection is so beautiful. How the original should be. For a moment you think like Alauddin Khilji. If Padmavati's reflection is so beautiful, what would be the real Padmavati be like? I can only see reflection. I can't touch the reflection. I cannot enjoy the reflection. If I really get married to Padmavati, what will happen to me? That is the thought that drove him to fight a war. You see the reflection everywhere. Oh, this Brahman, I see the reflection, but I don't experience that Brahman because these are all reflections only. But reflections are so beautiful. What must be the beauty of that Brahman, Sundaram? What must be that Sundaram? That should drive you crazy. I must see. This is what Vishnu did to our Annamayacharya. Happily having good life with two of his cousins, he was planning to marry them. And he's supposed to be incarnation of the Vishnu's sword, Nandaka, a dagger or sword of Vishnu. And he is born to sing Vishnu's glory. And he comes down and forgets everything and is happily roaming around with two of his girlfriends, their cousins. And they all know that he's going to get married to both. That time Vishnu appears. Padmavati says, look at your student, what is he doing down there? He's forgotten you, forgotten the work for which he came, and loafing around, fooling around. Do something, otherwise you'll lose him. The Vishnu says, our time has come to teach him a lesson. And he takes an avatar, comes down as a Brahman. And he tells him, what is this you're falling for these two earthly beauties? I know some celestial beauty far, far more beautiful than these. He said, impossible. It's not possible that any other ladies are more, or any other thing in this earth is more beautiful than these two girls whom I love. He said, no, there is a beauty much beyond this. Passeth understanding. You cannot explain, I cannot explain. If there is one beauty like that, I'll become brahmachari, he said. I'll become a sannyasi. If it is not there, you have to become a grahastha, he told to Vishnu. What grahastha, what sannyasi, what brahmachari for Vishnu. Anyway, he laughs at his foolishness and says, come with me. And takes him to a temple where he has the vision of Lord Vishnu, this Annamaya. Seeing that, he's lost himself. Tejasa abhibhuto, the mind is lost in that vision of Brahman. Now these earthly beauties look nothing to him, for he has seen the divine beauty. So far he was busy with the reflections and happy with them. Now he gets the original. He's so excited, he's so lost. Comes back home like a madman. Cannot eat, cannot sleep. That one thought of that beloved, that Lord he saw, occupies all his being. Parents say something's gone wrong with this fellow. He cannot understand what is going on. And one day he goes to pick firewood, and from there he climbs up the Tirumala hill, following the devotees who are going for a darshan. They say there is a Venkataramana Swami on the hill. We are all going there. Oh, is it? I also will go there. And he just walks behind them and settles down there in the mandir. Then parents and these two girls are searching. After a long time they find, and then they get him, and then afterwards, of course, they also become great devotees. They also attain moksha prapti. But thing is that the celestial beauty, the divine beauty of the Lord is so much more than these earthly beauties. If you fall for these things, you have to pity yourself. For there is much, much bigger reward waiting at the end of this sadhana. A beauty like none other, a joy like none other, an experience like none other. That should motivate us. And why it is a guarantee? Because scriptures say so. Because people have experienced it so. And you have a paroksha pramana for it. Somebody, a guru has come by and telling, it is, astiti, astiti, astiti. I have seen it, I have experienced it. It is there. Don't be deluded. Don't fool yourself with smaller things. And if you don't believe any of these things, just look at the nature around, which is reflection of Brahman. What perfection, what precision, what beauty. If this is not beauty, even a child also can understand that beauty, then you can imagine the creator of that beauty will be how beautiful. And that experience is what one must crave for. That Ananda Anubhuti, that Brahma Anubhuti. Then it becomes Pratyaksha Jnanam. It will become Pratyaksha Anubhuti. You have directly seen and experienced it. Even if you have seen like Alauddin Khilji, just a glimpse of that Brahman, that will redeem you. He will not come back to these earthly cravings. They will subside. No, all the time meditating on the Brahman. You will subside. All these will subside. So somebody asked me, Bhakti and Saguna, Nirguna, how does it work now? Because we are getting confused. Should we worship Swami as the form Krishna, Rama, or now we should only meditate on the Brahman. I told Swami also is reflection of Brahman only, no? What is Swami? In a form and a name. The moment these 5 things are there, the 2 Rupa Nama comes, what happens? They cover up the actual. But Rupa Nama is required because otherwise we don't appreciate anything in the world full of Dvaita. Because Dvaita Bhava is there till Manas is there. So it also takes the form. That's why I corrected couple of people. When they said Swami is God, Swami is God. And what they do, they're hyper excited devotees. They'll go and pressurize everybody to believe Swami is God. Oh, Satya Sai Baba God, Satya Sai Baba God, Satya Sai Baba God. They'll pester people. I told them, no, you're just doing it wrong. God is Swami, God is Swami, God is Swami, tell this. God was, is, will be. Swami will come and go. God is Swami. Get your concept right. You're putting the cart before the horse. Get it right. God is Swami. That Brahman only is Swami. When you say Parabrahma Avatari, Paripurna Brahman, what do you mean? Brahman came first or Swami came first in the form and name? But our attachment to the name and form, is that not an illusion? Is it not ajnana? It is. It helped you. How? Like a reflection helps you to crave for the original. Like that, the Swami's name, form, behavior, interactions has helped you to develop some love for this concept of divinity. But what did Swami say all the time? Did he not say, realize yourself, realize yourself? How many discourses? Did he not say, you are God, I am God, so are you, I know you don't. No God, become God. How many discourses from the beginning till the end? But conveniently we kept all that aside. And what did we kept on proclaiming? Swami is God. That Guru is not God. Those Gurus are not God. They are not God. Look at the ajnana. Somebody came and told, nobody can give a lecture like you. You are the best. I went to another satsang. That concept was not clear. I told, I'm so sad that I have a disciple like you, who talks like this, who compares like this. I'm so sad. You learned nothing, because I might be a great speaker or whatever you say, but I don't think you're a great disciple. If still your buddhi is like this, to compare and contrast me with others, it means you have learned nothing near me. That is what happened. Swami is God, Swami is God. Open a center, open a samiti, make a big hangama out of it, fight with your neighbors, relatives, cousins, uncles. Swami is God, you believe Swami is God. Otherwise, I am no more yours. Look at the foolishness of people. Okay, it would have built up a huge organization in the name of Swami is God. But did it make you God at the end of it? It's an instrument to reach God. You can't be sitting in the car forever, isn't it? You have to get off when your destination comes. The problem is that most of the people sat off in the car and never got out. They said car, car, car. They didn't think the destination. Swami said what? I'm here to help you realize your divinity. That's all the purpose is. That is what I have come to give you. But I don't give you because you keep asking all kinds of things. So I wait for you to not ask anything so that I can give you what I want to give you. Today I am giving that what I want to give you. So get your concept right. Brahman was, is, will be. All forms and names are illusions, mithya. They are reflections, mere reflections. Even avatar is a reflection. Krishna is a reflection. That is what I was telling the boys. Even Krishna movement ISKCON started, bhakti basis. What did they call it? Krishna consciousness they called it. Isn't it? Krishna consciousness. I mean, they're saying Krishna is, but more importantly, you understand Krishna is the consciousness. That you have to experience. Even the bhakti, this Guruji, he's called Bhakti Vedanta. He's not called Bhakta Shiromani, Bhakta Shikhamani, nothing. He is called Bhakti Vedanta Srila Prabhupada, his name is. How this Bhakti and Vedanta come together there in his name? Because he was very clear. Vedanta is the ultimate goal, but I have to teach them through Bhakti Marga. That's what they taught them. Same thing you are doing. Through Bhakti you should attain Jnana. Atma Ramo Bhavati, Amruto Bhavati. That is the fine end result of Bhakti. Paranta Kale, Paramrutat, Parimuchanti, Sarve. That is what I am teaching now. And this has always the teaching. It's just that the emphasis is more because everything else will fail. If you control your mind temporarily because of some, you bear a Sevadal for 15 days in Puttaparthi, those were the purest 15 days of your life. Once you came back to your town, all purity disappeared. So how it has helped you, tell me? Once you live in the ashram, in the precincts of this, seva and sadhana thing, everything is fine. After 6 months, what guarantees that you will still remain stable? For that reason, know yourself. For that reason, if you know that, you will not come back and crave for the lower things of the world. Parimuchyanti sarve, you will get rid of everything. A kind of sannyasa, vairagya, dispassion will develop. It doesn't mean that you will not enjoy your food. If you eat good food, you will enjoy it. You will say, it's done well, somebody has cooked it quite well, I am very happy. The food is good, tasty. My senses are happy, mind is happy. It is nourishing also. It's not too rajasic. It's good. It is needed for my body. Somebody has done it. I am grateful for that. But beyond that, can I have 2 more? Can I have 2 more? You cannot keep eating. So that way you will be developing some checks and balances in your lives. Thus far, not further. That Atman will give you that strength. That is why you should struggle. If you struggle now, you will enjoy a whole of your life. It's like making an early investment in life. Make a good investment in the beginning, whole life you can reap the benefits. You spend away all the money now, then whole life you have to slog and earn. Feed every day. Fend every day for yourself. But today you have money, you save them, invest it well, lifelong it will give you dividends. So that is this knowledge of Brahman, and therefore you should put efforts towards it. And once you know that, you become that. Once you become that, you can help so many more people. Everywhere we cannot go and talk. But you, like the seeds, can be carried by the winds to far distant places and get established somewhere and teach them that same jnana, same Vedanta. And that is the only way Rabindranath Tagore's vision will be realized, sustainable development goals will be realized, this child's little drawing will be realized. Else it is not. Na anya pantha. There is no other way. So please keep that in mind.